Hey guys, I'm back today and I wanted to take a few minutes and quickly share with you guys my experience with flying Spirit Airlines. So just a little background. I have 3 kids and we travel quite a bit with them. We want them to be well-traveled, see different things, experience different cuisines and things like that. My husband and I have elite status on United Airlines and a couple other major US airlines, so we usually travel with them. And one of the perks is you get better service, you get economy plus seats, and oftentimes we're able to get our like upgrades like business class and things like that. So it just makes for a more convenient traveling for us. Now we have friends, one of my husband's co-workers that always flies Spirit, and my husband and I had never traveled with a sort of budget carrier, so we've never done Spirit, Southwest, JetBlue, anything like that. And so they're always bragging on the Spirit Airlines, and some of the prices that they've been telling us that they get on these trips were just unbelievable for us. So we had just gotten back from our trip to Cancun, and we had gone to Cancun at the end of November. So we decided in December that, you know what, let's explore this. We're only gonna we were thinking about going to Vegas and then driving to California to visit some family. But we were only thinking about going if we were able to get the tickets cheap, because otherwise we had just gotten back from a trip and it was more supposed to be like this budget-friendly adventure more than like actually having to go. So we decided to start exploring. So we're looking online at different dates and different things like that, and so the round-trip airfare for Spirit was coming out to $116 per person, which was unbelievable to us. I mean, we are couponers and budget shoppers and stuff, but that just was too good to be true. So I told my husband that if we go on these dates and that's the price, his coworker had told him that if he goes to the airport and purchases the ticket, it would actually be even cheaper than that. So meanwhile, I'm doing all this research, looking at YouTube videos, reading reviews, and everything I'm finding was mostly really bad. They were saying that you have to pay for all this extra stuff, and that Spirit doesn't disclose that you're gonna have to pay for XYZ, you have to pay for your seats. And so I'm reading all these bad reviews about cancellations and things and getting really nervous because, like I said, up until this point we've never traveled any budget airlines. In fact, my youngest daughter, who's 2, hadn't even traveled coach. Like, she would either get like business class she's been on 10 total trips, 8 of which have been air travel, and I think for the first like 4 or 5 of them she was in business. So I was really super nervous that this is going to be too big of a change. The other thing I was really nervous about is that my husband is 6'2", and in a lot of the reviews I was finding online, it said that if you're over 5'7", that you're not even gonna fit in the seats. So that was another thing. And so when I was doing the calculations of upgrading the seats and paying for all these various things, I was thinking, okay, then it's not even worth exploring this, because then we might as well just use either our miles or just fly United or not even go, because like I said, this was supposed to be like a bonus trip for us. We had just gotten back from Cancun, and like I didn't care either way if we went or we didn't go. So anyways, my husband is like, no, all these people say these things in the review. I guess they don't read the Spirit's website. If you read the site, you find out you don't have to pay for all this extra stuff. It's an option, but you can actually fly without having to pay. So I was like, okay, if you can figure this out, let's try it out. So he goes to the airport to buy the tickets, and he calls me and says it's $85 for the ticket, and he's at the airport at the Spirit counter. And so I thought he meant $85 per leg. So I'm like, well, online it was $116 round trip with taxes and everything. And he's like, no, I meant it's $85 round trip to Vegas, taxes and everything included. I'm like, what? So he's like, so should I get it? I'm like, yeah, at that price, like how could we not go? So he buys 5 tickets. When we travel, since we do travel a lot with 3 kids, we have really narrowed down and we don't overpack, even though we are allowed extra baggage with the United and a lot of other carriers that we have elite status with. just the hassle of lugging around all that luggage and waiting for it when you check it in, and then taking it, lugging it in the car, taking it to the hotel. It's just a lot of work with 3 kids. Also, when we get our car, if we have a lot of luggage, that means we have to upgrade the car, because oftentimes with the stroller and the 5 of us, we can't fit like 4 or 5 pieces of luggage. So we travel very, very light. Oftentimes we're able to fit all 5 of our clothes in one carry-on, or I'm sorry, in one like checked bag, or 2 carry-ons or 3 carry-ons. So we try to keep it as simple as possible, and that's the way that I'm able to travel so much with my children. So we were thinking about either traveling with 5 backpacks or like smaller personal items that Spirit lets you fly for free. But my husband was saying it would be so much easier if we just bought one checked-in bag, which would cost us $35 each way, and I could do a personal item. So that way we just have 2 things that we're dealing with, whereas having like 5 bags to deal with, even though they were personal items, because you have to keep in mind when you're traveling with 3 kids and a stroller and a car seat, when you go through the bag, like the security line and stuff, the less you are carrying, the easier it is to get through, because you still, no matter what you do, you're still going to have a stroller and a car seat. So I was like, okay, we bought this little carry-on personal item that they consider like a personal item with the exact measurements from Costco, and that was like $30. So I thought I could use that for future trips as well, even though Spirit as of March 31st is changing the measurements. Still, I figured I could still use it on United and our other flights. So I bought that, and that was supposed to be carrying all my stuff. And then my kids, my 3 kids and my husband were able to fit everything that they needed in one checked bag. And this was a trip for 10 days, so we had some clothes in there and all kinds of stuff that kids need, and we were able to do that. So we checked that bag in, and then we did not buy assigned seats. That's another one. Everybody complains about Spirit that, oh, we have to pay for our seats. Well, you don't have to pay for your seats. You pay for your seats if you want to choose certain seats. We didn't want to have to pay for that because, like I mentioned, the only reason this trip made sense for us if we were going to explore it to be a budget trip and take it as an adventure. If we're having to pay for all this extra stuff, then we're better off flying another airline, because we always get free checked-in bags, free, everything because of our status. So we're like, no, we're not going to choose the seats. My husband printed out all the boarding passes, bought the checked bag online, so that way we didn't have to pay extra. So with the checked baggage, the later you wait, the closer you are to your trip, or if you buy it at the airport, it's much more expensive. So we did all of that stuff beforehand. So as far as having to pay for snacks and things, that's another thing that people were complaining about. Well, I have to pack snacks for my family for when we travel anyways, because my oldest son and I are both gluten-free. I'm grain-free and my son is gluten-free, so oftentimes it's hard for us to get anything on the plane that's that we can eat. So that wasn't a big deal for us. Plus, for my younger kids, I find that if I have some yummy treats for them to keep them occupied, that it's just easier on the plane. They're busy and they're enjoying their treats, so that was not a big deal for me. The other thing is that they do allow a baby bag that is not included as a personal item. So even though, my daughter would have had her personal item anyways, I was able to get a baby bag on there. They don't charge you for the car seat. They don't charge you for the valet check-in for the stroller at the gate. So those things are all included. Now, as far as the seats being too small, I was able to get my daughter's car seat on the plane buckled in, just like with United or American or any other airlines that we fly. I've been able to use her car seat throughout all of them at all different airlines, and Spirit was just the same. So it's the same car seat. It fit just fine. As far as my husband, that was one thing I was really concerned about, because he is 6'2", and I kept telling him that if you're not comfortable, just upgrade your seat to one of the bigger seats in the front and we should be fine. But it turns out he was comfortable, and he said he didn't even notice if there was any difference. And like I mentioned, we usually fly at the very least economy plus and oftentimes business. So he said that it was not an issue at all. So we ended up paying $85 round trip to Vegas per person and didn't have any issues. Now when we got to the gate, or to check in at Spirit on the day of our flight, there was a long line, much longer than we're used to. So that was one of the things that I guess I got nervous about in the beginning, because we usually have like a separate line for elite members for various trips, so we've never had to stand in line. It went really quickly though. I would say we were in line maybe for 20 minutes, and then we got to the gate and there was another about 20-30 minute wait. So not a big deal. I was prepared for that. I had things for the kids to do, activities, snacks, things like that. And we did purchase some water after we crossed the security line to take on the flight with us, because you know, if you buy water from them, they charge you for that, and so it was just easier for us to buy it after we checked in, or after we went through the security line. But we had our own snacks. When we got on, we were greeted by a very friendly air hostess. I'm not sure what they're, I guess like air attendant, flight attendant. And so like I mentioned, we hadn't purchased assigned seats, and so we were okay with the possibilities of us not sitting together. And usually, to be honest, my boys like to sit by themselves separately anyways, and I've done that since they were younger, because I feel like it teaches them responsibility, and also it helps them kind of take ownership of their trip. And I always get compliments from other passengers as well as the flight attendants that they were so well behaved and they knew how to order their drinks and things like that, and I just feel like it teaches them how to travel. So when we got on there, they were seated separately, and we were totally okay with that. But I noticed that as soon as the flight was settling in and everybody was on, the flight attendant came up to us and said, would you like me to move people around so you could be sitting with your boys? And so we said sure, because the way it was is my daughter and I were sitting together, my husband was across from us, and then my boys were like a few seats back, and she kindly moved some people around and got the boys to sit right next to my husband, and so that was perfectly fine, and I didn't even have to ask for that. She just came up to us and offered. So I don't think it's worth paying that extra $8 or something per seat to have people, like, to choose your seats. We got very friendly service. The plane was extremely clean. In fact, it looked brand new, cleaner than a lot of the other airlines that we've traveled with, surely. So the service was really great. Like I mentioned, we were greeted by a very friendly flight attendant, and not only was she very friendly, she was very attentive, because she came to us and offered to move people around to put the boys next to us so that my whole family was sitting together. One thing I do want to say, we had that one checked bag with everybody's things, but I had a personal item, which was a smaller bag that fit the requirements. And we had read online that if you're flying to Vegas, they're very strict, and oftentimes they will say that your bag doesn't fit or measure it, and you end up paying extra. So even though we had a bag that fit their requirements, their measurements exactly, they actually didn't even look at it. We weren't concerned if they said that we had to measure it or if we had to fit it into that little box that they had, but they didn't even look. Nobody even paid attention to Alina's baby bag or my personal items. So I'm not sure if that's a unique experience with us, but they didn't even bother looking at it, and I was easily able to get both her baby bag and my personal item under the seat in front of us. So that was just our experience. I thought I'd go ahead and share it because I see so many negative reviews on Spirit, and I'm not sure, like I said, this was just our first time traveling with them, but even our flight back home, we had an excellent experience, friendly service, everything was clean. And again, we were able to go to Vegas and California for $85 round trip, so you can't really beat that. When we got there, we rented our car, and then we were there in Vegas for 3 or 4 days. Then we went down to California to visit family, and then drove back with family to Vegas for another 3 or 4 days, and for another couple of days, and then flew back home from there. So that was our experience. We would definitely consider flying Spirit again if we were able to find good deals for somewhere. And yeah, no complaints at all. That's it, guys. I'll catch you guys later. Bye.